Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Darren James. I go by DJ. If you see me in fantasy football, it's DJ Beast Mode. But in this application, because I know a lot of people are affected by this glioblastoma, deadly brain cancer. I have it, and there's a lot of people that have it and are dealing with it on a daily basis. And I just wanted to connect with some people that might have a lot of curiosities about how this person or that person is handling it, etc. It might be helpful. I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm not a technical whiz. I'm just going to speak what I believe and what I feel. And if it's helpful, that's a blessing for both of us. This all started for me a couple of years ago. I'd say March, maybe late February, March of 2020. And I have cheat sheets. You don't remember everything. I started experiencing symptoms that were odd to me and very hard to comprehend. I was losing my balance. I was falling for no reason. I had severe heartburn, and I mean severe heartburn. So I medicated that. I took care of that. Incidentally, this is during when the covert. Hey, Luna, that's my dog. Go, baby. I love you. I'll show her later if she's not bad. She's not a bad girl. It just multiple things happening at the same time. A sea of confusion because you're like, what's wrong with me? This is right at the start of covert. My job sent us home for what we thought would be a couple of weeks. Ended up being over a year and a half, which was also a blessing in disguise. In addition to the heartburn, which I was dealing with, and dealing with dizziness and incoherency. I would wake up in the middle of the night and call for my wife. I would call her Angel. Angel! I knew I was in trouble. I felt in my spirit something's wrong, but I don't know what it is. And this lingered on for a little while. I was training one of my employees online. So, I'd be set up, with a Teams. If you have Microsoft, you know what Teams is. So I would have team meetings. And it got to the point where I just couldn't go any further. I would tell her I'll call you back or what have you. And I would literally lay down and fall asleep for the rest of the day. And this went on for a little while, me getting up in the middle of the night, not knowing where I was at, calling my wife Angel, knowing that there was something horribly wrong. I thought, and I would have never guessed what it was. She's like, look, this has gone on long enough. We really couldn't go into a doctor's office because of the covert. So we set up a tele consultation. Doctor asked me a few questions that I can answer, and my wife filled in the rest. And he said, look, we need you down at the hospital immediately so we can get an MRI and try to figure out what's going on with you. So we go to the hospital. Now, mind you, it's covert. They said, I told my wife, you can't come in with him. We're just letting you know that. But additionally, you can't be out there when we get out there. So she literally had to drive up to the hospital. They gave her a number to call. They said, leave him there. We'll come right out and take care of him. They did. They came right out. She drove off. And that was harsh because that's when you start feeling scared and lonely, which is a horrible combination. One or the other is bad enough. And they came and they got me in a wheelchair. And they got me admitted in the hospital. And I was on my own. I didn't see her until after I was out of the hospital after that. They took me and they did an MRI. And it was a brain MRI. They knew why I didn't. The symptoms probably told them a lot, and they went straight for the brain. And I guess they analyzed the MRI, and they determined that I had a tumor right here. And the neurosurgeon came in and said, "You have GBM. We're going to surgery in the morning, brain surgery." Which, how do you ever respond to something like that? I was like, "Okay, do a good job." He's like, "Okay, I will." But that's the start, right? And I don't even know what GBM is. And they went into a little bit more detail. It's a very aggressive brain tumor. If we don't go in there and get this out right now, it's going to be problems. So the next morning, I don't remember. I must have fell asleep after the doctor left. But the next morning, they got me up early. They were prepping me for surgery. And I think they called my wife and let me, speak to her briefly. And got me down in the surgery area. I spoke to an anesthesiologist. He said, "I'm going to put you out real quick. You're not really going to," he says, "you're going to count back to 10. You're not going to make it to 10. And I've had that happen before in surgery. So I was like, "All right, cool. Let's roll. Come on, player." I go to surgery. I come out, and I'm in ICU. I'm in the ICU. Just confused as all outdoors. I knew I was in surgery, and I knew what I was in surgery for. I knew it was brain surgery because I had these wires on top of my head, and stitches or whatever else was in there. I knew that. They gave me pain medication as needed. They took care of me, but it was a difficult time the first day out of surgery. I was still a little delusional. I wasn't sure what was going on. I'm not going to say I was out of touch with reality, but it felt weird. I would look at the window and it was moving. And he said, "Well, that's not uncommon. You just had your brain tapped around and that happens." So the neurosurgeon comes in and he was excited. I was like, "What? Huh? What's going on here?" And he said, "We got it all," just like that. He got 100% of the tumor. And he said, "You're one lucky man. I opened it up and it was all right there." And he said, "I plopped it out, sewed you up." And that's all I knew, and I didn't know what that meant either. I'm like, "Well, I'm glad you got it all. That's helpful." And this is the first day in ICU. Now, I see GBM patients in my doctor's office all the time. And very few are just walking around. They either have loss of speech, some kind of impairment, maybe they're in a wheelchair or what have you. It's a byproduct of that surgery. Speaking to my doctors after the surgery, basically with GBM, they need to get that out because it's an aggressive cancer that will spread. In my case, they got it all. That was very helpful. But in other cases, they don't. And the most important part when they consider surgery is the placement of your tumor. Like I said, my tumor was literally right here on top. He opened, popped it right out. But that's not the same story for everybody. I mean, they want to get that tumor if they can not cause too much impairment to you. But they got to get that tumor out. So they got it out. I was in ICU for a week. I was walking the first day. It had me walking upstairs to see if I could walk. I'm like, yeah, I can walk. Um, I was in one ICU, and then later in the week they moved me to another unit in another branch or another tower in the hospital that was not a ICU unit because they felt I was doing fine. All of my everything was checking out okay, breathing okay, everything was fine. It's now a matter of treatment, really. Um, and I would tell the doctors every day, the nurses, I want to go home. I didn't know if I was dying or not. But whatever I was doing, I wanted to do it at home. And that's a horrible feeling, being detached from your family. And, it was days before they got even, my wife had to buy a cell phone because the phone I had broken because I was falling and all that madness. And she finally got me a phone, and we were able to video talk, and I was able to video talk with my son. And dear Lord, that was my connection to the world. Still haven't received the diagnosis yet. I'm just, trying to eat and walk around as much as possible. And, there were some bad nights there to where I was scared. And you can hear the nurses on the outside. And if I rang, they'd come. But it was just, I felt disconnected to the whole process. And my two oncologists, and I have two oncologists, they came in that night. And I told them, I said, I want to go home. I believe in the healing power of being around your family. I want to be around my family no matter what's going to happen. They said, okay, we'll get you checked out tomorrow, but you got a battle ahead of you. I said, I figured I did. And he said, hey, let me tell you what you have. He explained what glioblastoma is, GBM they call it, and how deadly it is, and how serious they take it, and how serious they take the treatment. So that very night, the night before they released me from the hospital, they detailed my treatment. They says you're gonna do radiation. You're gonna do chemo. You're gonna do chemo pills. And they said you're gonna wear this cap called the Optune. I had no idea what that was. I was just like, okay. You ready to do this, Mr. J? Yes, I'm ready to do this. Let's go. And I was like, let's go. Just whatever. Let's do this. I got out the hospital. My son and my wife picked me up. And I was just emotionally drained just seeing them, just being outside the hospital. I don't know if I was going to ever leave that hospital. I felt okay. We got home, got me on this very couch, and my whole family was there. And I always got the impression they felt I was not long for this world based on their conversations with the doctor. And based on my conversations, I'm like, they gave me a roadmap really talking about extending your life, which means you're dead already. If you're talking about extending your life, they said these therapies and treatments are going to help extend your life. And they said the Optune is going to make a difference. And they showed me charts and graphics and statistics that talk about how much more you can prolong your life if you use the Optune, if you do the chemo and go through the radiation treatment and all that. That is the standard of care for GBM. I said, okay. So I go home. I really do nothing for a while. I was extremely fatigued. I didn't eat a lot at first. I remember my wife, who is my caretaker, she's a caretaker extraordinaire. And I'm so appreciative of her because if you going through this, you know how scary this can be. And to have a supportive spouse It's everything. She's on the phone with the doctor's office talking about when my radiation was going to start and all that. And so we got that started. And radiation really didn't bother me. I'd had it before. I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2004, stage 4, and I did radiation. I did chemo, which was in IV form, Rituxan, which absolutely devastated, just destroyed the cancer. I had 100% cancer in my bone marrows in 2004. And one round of Rituxan, and I was in 100% remission. But they said, we're going to keep doing this to make sure. And they did, and I did, and it didn't come back, thank goodness. But I understood the roadmap of my treatment for this disease. And went through the radiation, and they also gave me, right around the time the chemo started, they gave me a lot of different pills, but they were concerned about a stroke or seizures. Not antibiotics. I'm forgetting. It'll come back to me, and I'll tell you. But it just, it made me eat a lot of food. And I went from, like, my surgery weight was 230. I went to 260 real quick. And, it was a while before they took me off of the, I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about. It just makes you, whatever. But it did tame a seizure or stroke from happening, so I'm thankful for it. This was, I started doing all this like in April of 2020. That's when my treatment started. And I was just asleep all day long. And soon after, it might have been a few months after, they said, you're doing fine. I had MRI, was clear. The MRI was completely clear. They said, this is a good sign. Let's get you started on Optune. I'm like, Optune? The cap he talked about. I said, okay, let's do it. So I got set up for the Optune, which, is something that if you have to wear it, you're going to wear it a lot. You're going to get used to it. You might not like it, but, you're always going to be thinking, man, I bet the Optune is killing those cancer cells for me. It's designed to do that. It sends electronic pulses throughout your brain in targeted spots, and it prevents the formation of cancer cells. That's its job, is to stop cancer cells from spreading, especially GBM, because GBM, that will spread like wildfire if you're not careful. So I started doing that, and I had, I don't know, since my first MRI, I probably had 5 or 6 MRIs. They were all clear. And the last time I had an MRI a couple of weeks ago, it was another clear result. And the doctor said, to be honest, Mr. James, you keep giving us clear MRIs through July of 2022, this coming July. You could take the Optune mask off if you want, or the cap off if you want. All right, what? In my security blanket. Why would I take this off? I sleep good at night with this on. I do, and it's so reassuring to me. And there's some long hauls out there that's had Optune on, my fellow GBM patients. And I don't know if you know about it or if it's available to you. It's worth looking into if you're suffering from GBM. And there's a lot of different treatments out there. But there's people that have had this for 10 plus years and they're going strong. So when she said you could take it off in July, I was like, okay. Taking the shit off. And I might take a break. You know, I haven't had a haircut in 2.5 years. I like bald fades, and I miss those. So, you know, she said you could take a break, you could stop using it, you know, whatever your choice is, and then we'll do MRIs, you know, every 3 months. Eventually, it'll be every year. She said if they're all clear and it's not come back, eventually, it'll be every year. And that did sound attractive, but taking off this cap, I got nervous with that. This is just, if you haven't used it, this is basically my backpack. And this charges the device, and it also takes AC. And you can just see on the inside, that's what it is. And when it's turned on, there's a blue light, and you know it's working. And yeah, the process to put it on is something that my wife does. But it is a process. It takes her 10 minutes. She's in and out, and it's a tight fit on my head. And I don't know what this is for, but I guess I'd rather have this than this, because this scares people. It scares the crazy living mess out of people. And I do, you know, unintentionally, well, most of the time unintentionally, I do scare kids. If we're driving and I'm sitting in the front like I normally am, I'll turn and you can see them fall back. I weigh about 203 now. So when I was first diagnosed and I went to the hospital for surgery, I was 230, and I went up to 260, and I'm at 103 somewhere around that. I mean 203 somewhere around that right now. I'm at a good size for me. I want to start exercising. I want to start lifting weights. I still find myself fatigued by this. I don't work Wednesdays to rest up and to be able to finish out the week. And that wasn't, my job made that accommodation for me, and I'm very appreciative because it makes a difference. Because normally by Tuesday at the end of the day, I'm worn out. So I chill out on Wednesday, come back Thursday and Friday, I'm good, and I got the weekend to rest up. So it kind of works out. How would I say, everybody's GBM experience is different. So I in no way started thinking about doing videos to fix anybody, because everybody's got their own damn problems. But maybe to give you some information that's relatable. And, I think exercise, if you can do it, is an important element. And I used to work out prior to GBM. And I think for me personally, I want to continue working out and get some muscle mass, etc. And you have to live your life like you want to live your life. If it's a horrible disease. I know statistics on GBM. There's a lot of people that don't make 6 months. All of that. But what are you deciding to do? I decided, no, you messed around and gave me all these clear MRIs for a reason. I'm fighting this, and, I'm wearing this like I'm supposed to. And by the way, 75% of the time you're supposed to have this on. You have breaks. Generally, every third day I'll take it off for 8 hours or so. Which is more than 75% over a 3-day period, and it's not difficult. It doesn't hurt. It's like your little buddy in there shooting little cancer cells trying to grow, and it's looking out for you. So that's what I have to say for now. I need to get enough, I guess, followers so I can eventually go live and we can dialogue and share information. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can tell me, hey, I tried this, DJ. I tried that. You know, THC. I don't know about that kind of stuff. I just, I hear about it, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something that is conducive to what? Helping stomp the cancer or just living with it? I don't know. But I really wanted to do this because I'm like, man, this is a 2-year journey for me like no other. There's people that I would imagine just, unfortunately just got diagnosed with this in the last year and they're trying to figure shit out. How do I don't know. I'll tell you what I did, and you guys can put it in chat and educate me. I do have to say this. One of the first things I did when I was coherent enough and I got a new phone, I can, deal with that, was start going on Facebook GBM groups. And the most informative place you can go, but at the same time, the saddest place you can go. Because you get death notifications in there. And, that's the same disease you have. And you're like, God bless them. So all I can say is, God bless them. Lord, please tell me they went peacefully. And no pain. But it just can be overwhelming. And I don't want to talk about that side of it. Nobody lives forever anyway. But if you're suffering from this disease, we can collaborate and talk and, eventually I'll go live, I guess. We'll see. I don't even know how to edit or any of that stuff. My son's going to help me out with that. I'm appreciative for him. My father has never had such a son that would be there every day for me. If you have that, and you have a family that's supportive and understand, you do not have to do this by yourself. They will be there for you. They understand what you're going through. So, I didn't have a certain amount of time this video should be. I talk too much anyway. Again, I'm DJ, and this is just my GBM experience. Me living with GBM. Let's see if I missed anything. No. I think I covered a lot. Just to dovetail it, the surgery was it was either late March or early April. I can't remember. But I felt good enough to go back. And we were working from home, by the way, because of COVID. So I went back to work in June of 2020. I think it was 2020. And worked there until the office reopened. Now I go to the office, I wear my mask. I have high blood pressure pills. I take those as regularly as possible. I'm always tired, but not too tired to get up and drive to work and be around people that care about me and love me, and I'm appreciative of them. Because they get me through the day, and I come home, my family gets me to bed. All right, we fed you. You watch little TV, go get some rest. It is what you make it. That's everything in life is. You can lay on the bed and lay in that fetal position and give up, or you could stand up and say, nah, I'm not going to be your little statistic, GBM. I don't feel like doing that. We're not doing that, homie. The choice is yours. Maybe my next video, I'll go through a typical day. I get up pretty early anyway. 4:35 is normally when I get up and, get ready for work, etc. If I'm doing right, I'm getting my lunch prepared so I can have some kind of nutrition throughout the day. I have my pills I have to take, so I like to make sure my stomach is coated before I take those. Sometimes I forget. I've tried to cut back on, because my blood pressure is high, I've tried to cut back on, excuse me, I'm just moving around, jittery as it is anyway. Cut back on coffee. I try not to drink as much coffee. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, in case you didn't know, by me saying coffee. And basically, just take it a day at a time, but do not, if you have this disease and you live in fear, it will eat you alive. I feel like when it's time for me to go home, my God will call me home. I can't fight that. I mean, he's already seen me through stage 4 cancer 15 years ago. Which, by the way, just to go back to that, in 2004, my wife was pregnant with twins. And it was so important for me to see their birth. And I did, of course. And now they're 16 years old. And the other commitment I made was to buy them a car by the time they were 16. I did that. I don't feel like my work is done here, but I feel like I've continued to do the things I should do anyway without being fearful of GBM. And you ought not either. You ought not. You ought to live your life. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to your comments. I will treasure them, and I'll do another video as soon as I can. Thank you.